this today. I'm in your shadow as ever. It's all right. So, well, we're giggling away, but on three and two and one and ready to rock and roll on go. Well, welcome everyone to another episode of the ACCA Global Podcast. My name is James Wright, and I'm delighted to be joined today with the lovely Claire, who is, just to point out, a 2019 Tackling Economic Climate Award winner and 2020 finalist as well. She is a specialist in the past in small, medium enterprises, multinational companies, and currently works as, get your breath, James, a forensic accountant. So another person who is cooler than me in the profession of accountancy. I must say, Claire, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me, James. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it is an absolute pleasure. The pleasure is all mine. And for our lovely viewers watching around the world, we have a comparison in terms of trophies on show for us today, where if you look over my shoulder here, we run on a strict budget here of naught. And those are my medals for completing a local 10K versus if you'd like to show to the camera, look at yours in the background there. I know. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Look at this. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Look at that. Well, I must say, thank you so much for your time coming on today. But for the viewers as well, they've got to know, where are you tuning in from today and which country are you representing?
I am tuning in from Wales today.
Fantastic stuff. Fantastic. Well, calling in from England over here as well, so pretty close, but unfortunately at the moment not able to meet face to face.
No.
It is sad times, but this is one of the reasons for the ACCA Global Podcast, so that contacts, connections who network with us online, connect with us on LinkedIn, get to know us a bit more sort of on a personal level. And as ever, I'm always interested, since first meeting you, you've got your drink out already. I was just about to leave that. This is the professionalness of the podcast, everyone. So, Claire, the one rule of the podcast is my lovely guest gets to choose what drink we go for the event of the podcast. What have we gone for today?
Well, because it's before 7 o'clock, it has to be a non-alcoholic drink. So for me, because I talk like the clappers, it's a glass of lemonade and it's a mug of coffee that's got lemurs on it.
Well, as you can see here, I've complied with the lemonade on here, and I've gone for my frat cap as well with a lovely straw to fit in. So cheers anyway.
Cheers.
Beautiful, lovely stuff. Well, we've talked about the drink, which is very important. We've talked about the country as well. But the main question is, how many years have you been a qualified ACCA member? What year did you qualify?
I've been qualified around 10 years now.
Gosh, lovely stuff. I qualified 2017. It's all right. Life has changed. Where do the years go as well? I don't know. But
when you find them, let me know.
hey, we've still got plenty more years ahead of us. We're all good. But the other final thing, so the viewers watching around, should I say the millions and billions of viewers watching us right now, is how do we know each other? Talk the viewers through it.
We know each other because we were both at the MEC down in the Adelphi in 2018, which, if I remember rightly, was the first one that was held in the Adelphi, so that the members could come and have a nosy around and see the new head office of ACCA and everything. And I remember it especially because it had the enormous wall of all the members, and you were all encouraged to basically go and find your name and point at it to go, yes, which I did.
I'll admit. And for anyone who'd like to connect with myself and Claire, all of our details are in the description below. There is an embarrassing photo of me in front of the wall, and I'm just there pointing at my name on there. But it's one of those little things that all of my sort of followers who are ACCA students online, they see that and they go, oh, they'll visualize it and they'll go, oh, that'll be me one day. And who knows?
Yes, indeed.
If the podcast changes one person's life, then big tick for us. And if it changes that one person's life, the credit goes over to you, Claire. That's all that matters. The floor is yours today. But it was absolutely lovely to meet you that day, and I must say you've got quite the personality, which I said I've definitely got to keep in contact with that lady. She's super duper in my book. But for the actual viewers who have tuned in today, just short and sweet, introduce yourself as to sort of what you do and sort of your background as well.
Oh, right. So I have been an accountant. I started studying accountancy in, golly gosh, in the early 2000s. Before that, I was not an accountant. I was actually a PA. And I fell into accountancy, actually. I basically found myself in a job, and they were giving me temp work, and I was doing sales ledger. And when it came to the end of that, the guy who was in charge took me to one side and said, you know what, you've got a real knack for figures. You should think about becoming an accountant. And
nice.
That is actually what got me started. And so, you know, I had to look around, decided ACCA was one for me. So I actually went through the MSER, not that I was mature at the time, but, you know, the mature student entry route, which basically means, you know, not directly out of uni and straight into accountancy. So I did it that way. I had to have a break mid-studies because I managed to fall over and fracture my spine.
I didn't know that about you. Oh my word.
I fractured my coccyx. I fell over, I slipped on a set of solid wood stairs, and I had a choice of going forward and planting myself, and basically I thought I'm going to probably break my face and both my arms if I do that, or go back. So I went back, and that was it. So I had to have a little bit of time out for that, because I couldn't
just a little bit. I've got no excuse for anything now in terms of I can't be bothered to do any reading, or you know, ACCA students who will be listening to this now from around the world who go, oh James, I've had a mildly long day at work, but I can't be bothered to do my reading. I know. You got no excuses from Claire. So if you drop her a message on LinkedIn and say, have you got any advice for motivation to do some studying for my ACCA exams coming up? Well,
hold the banister. That's my advice. Hold the banister. But yes, so I had to have a small break. Then I qualified. I worked and studied at the same time. So I've worked in varying different environments. I've worked in small and medium enterprises. I've worked in global multinationals, as you said. My last job before I went into the public sector was actually doing tax and VAT for a global multinational. And then I went into the public sector. So I've been where I am now at Companies House since 2013.
Right.
I joined in the first instance as just an accountant in finance, and then in 2017 I was approached to actually change departments and go into integrity and enforcement, which is now integrity, enforcement and intelligence.
All right.
Department.
All things you're telling me now I've got to be on my best behaviour today.
And then I moved across to that department where I now work as a forensic accountant.
Oh, rock and roll, I must say. And I have to be on my usual best behaviour, so that's all right. Obviously, but I'll be very you know, full of integrity. See, I'm getting nervous even saying it. That's all right. It's okay. I know. Look, we will remain professional. I'm a professional host now on the podcast. This is it. You see. We'll be presenting the BBC News at this rate. You know, who knows? Who knows? It could be family fortunes. That the possibilities are endless. But
Price is Right.
Who knows? Who knows? But it'd be even worse if I got the price wrong on that being an accountant. But that's a whole different kettle of fish. But now we're gonna swiftly move this on as to getting to know you a bit more in terms of a little rapid fire round where you've got two options in terms of it. so that the actual viewers get to know you a bit more in terms of what you're like as a person. And if they do connect with you, it'll be a case of, wow, I know a bit more about lovely Claire now as well. So the first one, which I always ask all my guests, is first of all, would you say you're a high-tech person or a low-tech person?
Ooh, that's a toughie.
Ah,
That is tough because it depends. I'd say I'm bordering more on high tech.
all right, okay.
I'm
But
bordering on high. However, I will always have my paper, because you can't do accountancy and dodgy figures without a notebook.
again, just to clarify my integrity, I don't do dodgy figures, so that's okay. I'm all right. I'm all good. I'm all good. But most people assume that all accountants are high tech as well. But you'd be surprised. I am exactly like you. Pen and paper. When you go to a session, write it down. And studies show you actually retain that information a lot more if you write it down as well,
Yeah.
because you translate what they're saying into your actual own language as well. And
And you get, for me, it's when you're looking at something, you need to actually track it through. So for me, it's that tracking. You can do sort of a mind map, or you can track companies through and join the dots and all the rest of it. You can do that a lot easier if you're doing it on a piece of paper, and it makes a lot more sense.
Oh, absolutely spot on. Completely agree with you. It's so underrated. Lots of people just sit there at events and go, yep. Yeah, how much are you actually taking in terms of it? But yeah, for anyone listening out there, I'd highly recommend that. Go old school. It's all right. Get a pen and paper. It's all good. But I've got to ask you my first Welsh question now as well. Do you prefer Cardiff or Swansea? This is a critical question. The viewers and I am particularly interested to know.
Ooh. Well,
Oh,
you see, this is a difficult one, James.
is it?
This is difficult because I live closer to Cardiff.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is a very large bugbear for a lot of us who live in a little area called the Vale of Glamorgan. The people turn around and say, "Oh, you live in Cardiff," and it's like, no. So I think I live closer to the one than the other, but they both have. I will be very, very politically nice and say they both have equal benefits.
Well,
They're both lovely in their own sweet way.
and automatically the Welsh viewers out there are just going spot on there, Claire. That was the classic response, just to tick all boxes. I've been to Swansea, but I've not been to Cardiff yet as well. So if I go to Cardiff, we're going for a G&T, definitely.
Definitely.
That's all right. But right, we've got to come on to the next one, because it's been such a year, and Wales has been in the news as well. But do you prefer a vacation or a staycation? That's the thing, because Wales is a beautiful country. But what do you prefer?
Again, I like both.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes, in fairness, we can be so keen to get away to other places that we actually miss what's on our doorstep. So, I mean, when I was a kid, we would normally, we would go quite local. So, we'd go on holiday, say to Pembrokeshire or Carmarthenshire. We'd stay. We wouldn't fly off to Alicante or something. So because of that, I really do appreciate what we've got on our doorstep. And I think, I think you have to appreciate what you got on your doorstep. But then I do like seeing the wider world. I've got some friends in America that I have gone and visited, which is really lovely. I've been to various other places. There's some places, and I won't say where, that you wouldn't get my backside there again because it's a hole. And I'm not saying where, but no, thank you. But then there are other places where I'm like, well, when all of this craziness dies down, I'd really like to go back to there. So,
Right.
I think I think a vacation is great, but I think you've really got to appreciate your surroundings.
Yeah, well, I know you want to be mean about Leicester, where I'm from, so it's okay, viewers. She has been to Leicester
I've been
once.
there a couple of times,
I
actually.
know, and you've never returned, so there we go. We'll just name it all on Leicester, and I'll take the hit on it. It's all right. It's okay. The final one. I have to ask this. You're representing Wales. Can you pronounce for me the longest town name in Wales? And for the viewers out there, it is 58 letters long. I have to ask this
No.
question. Was that a no? Oh my word. Well, this is it then. All
You
the
can
viewers.
have Clanfire PG, and that's as far as we're going.
All of our Welsh viewers have gone now. That's it. That was it. That was the thing they were waiting for. The viewers can actually comment at the bottom of this and say, "Oh, we're gonna have to get you back." I've got it on my screen now. In fact, it's 58 letters long, as I said, and I
I
will.
can't.
Oh no.
You've got it. I haven't got it on mine.
No, yes. Well, what I can do is on the edit, I'll put it up on the screen so the viewers can see. And I'm going to now try and attempt, without offending anyone from this place, how it is actually pronounced. Okay, are we ready? This is where the podcast goes viral. But it's I have it down as Lanthermpwel Gwanagulagorugi Churunrodrob. That's what I can read it as.
Okay.
But wouldn't you agree that was a better attempt than yours? I at least attempted all 58 letters on that one. So
You did. It did kind of go a bit sort of Morecambe and Wise, Andre Previn, you know. Listen, Mr. Preview, I'm playing all the right notes and just not necessarily in the right order, but yeah.
well, this is where, as a professional host, we swiftly move this on to the final question. As to you are such a personality with such energy. I have to ask this question because I'm intrigued as to, are you a morning person or an evening person?
Evening.
Evening. Oh,
Evening.
I thought you'd be up crack of dawn and full of energy and like a Duracell, you know, running
I
through
am
you.
like a Duracell bunny. I am like a Duracell bunny. But it's very rare I'm actually going to sleep before midnight.
Right. Okay.
Very rare.
Right. Lots to do in the world of forensic
And it's
accounting.
even worth. I mean, now I've got my 10-step commute. It's just the common sense of, oh no, I have to go to bed now has gone. That's yeah. So my natural instinct is sort of. I mean, that's not to say I don't try and get up early, because I do, but I'm not a sort of 7 a.m. in the office.
Right.
I'm sort of half 8, 9 in the office. But then, yeah, I'm more likely to be awake until midnight easily.
Oh, nice. I'm trying something new at the moment where I don't think you'll be a fan of it, but I wake up now at 5:30 in the morning and trying to do early starts because I find I'm just so much more productive. First thing, I don't have my phone on, and to be honest, I don't really have it on very much. So I'm sorry I've missed your calls, you know, every week. She keeps ringing me, viewers, every week. She's like, James, come on, when's my turn on the podcast? It's all right. Patience. It's all right. My fizzy lemonade is waiting for you. Do not worry about it. That's yes, learning about people who are up early is just. Some people complete more in the 4 hours from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. than other people do in a full day because they've just got it so triggered down and they just know what they're doing. I find it really interesting. And then you're working at your most effective time as well. So if like I work as a lecturer, it's a case of if you go into the office in the day and someone wants to have a nice chat with you or anything on those lines, you go, yeah, perfectly fine. I've got everything going as long as I've done my classes. So yes. I think you should give it a go. You know, a new year, new me for 2021.
I might, to be honest, I mean, work-wise, I might well. Now it's much darker, then I might be shifting it for that. So especially as we get darker dark are coming in earlier, then I
Mm.
might well be looking to get in earlier, so then I'm not working in the dark. But I
Oh,
still don't think I'll be going to bed much before midnight.
oh,
Even
but
if I'm sort of getting in for 7:30, I'll be like, yeah.
conked out. I know. Well, we're getting into the stages now of the winter's coming, the weather's getting worse, the excuses start coming out as well. It is hard. I go out running. I've got to go out after this, after the podcast. It's dark out there. It's windy. It's wet. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
No, you have to. I did it this this lunchtime, and I was like, right, I need to go out for a walk.
Yep.
It's windy, it's rainy, which is great because it means it's going to be quiet. And get the coat on and get out and go for my walk, because I thought otherwise, I mean, this is the third meeting that's over an hour long I've had today.
And the best
And
one. And the
otherwise,
best. And the best.
and the best, but you get flat bottom syndrome. I mean, seriously, that's how I call it. You just get flat bottom syndrome because you suddenly realise you haven't actually shifted your behind.
Yes. My watch has just buzzed to say for me to move.
I know, and you
Move
go,
my hands.
oh, I haven't actually moved, So yeah, not good. I mean, at least my study is upstairs. I gotta go downstairs for coffee. I mean, some people, it's kitchen table. It's hardly 2 steps to go to the coffee machine. So,
have you ever tried a stand-up office as well? Because I'm stood up now, so that's it. Honestly, you get so much more concentration out of it as well. So,
not a fan of that.
not a fan. Oh,
No.
Don't knock it till you try it. That's it.
No, I don't think I'll be having a stand-up desk for a while yet.
You should see me on the usual work calls. I can be so vigilant with my arms now. That's it. So that's it. Well, thank you very much for that, and thank you for embarrassing me with my 58 letters on that one as well. And I know this is where all the trolls online. James, free Welsh lessons for you. It's okay, but we're going to come on to more seriousness now. To as if we're moving the 10 o'clock news on to the proper points in terms of this, because
going backwards from the and finally to the proper news.
Well, we have many characteristics about our presentation skills, but as ever, the job will always be done and the time will always be filled. That is very key in terms of it. But we've got to come on to your role as a forensic accountant and working at Companies House. So talk the viewers through as to, they'd have heard about forensic accounting, they've heard about Companies House. Walk and talk us through what your sort of role is and how it entails a day at work.
Okay, so I'll start off doing the thing about Companies House. So Companies House, for those who don't know about it, who are tuning in maybe from overseas, we are the UK Register of Companies. We're the oldest registry in the world. We came about in 1844, and I think I got that right. So that's when we came about. That was the Joint Stock Act, which, I mean, basically you used to just be able to set up a company in a coffee house and set to and run off with people's money. And then someone thought, oh, this isn't £2,000. And so basically Companies House came about.
Yeah.
So we are, if you have a limited company or PLC in the UK, you have to provide Companies House with statutory documents. So that is a confirmation statement, which used to be known as annual return, which basically says how many shares and who your directors are and stuff like that. You also have to provide us with annual accounts, and they depend on what size company you are. So depending on what size company you are, it depends on what you have to give us.
Okay.
And I won't bore you all rigid on that.
Oh, we'll put the website details in the bottom. There we go. We've ticked the box. But now we can go on to why you're cooler.
Yeah, so that's pretty much what Companies House does. Then you get on to my job, which is more fun than an accountant should legally be allowed to have. So as I said, I was just an ordinary boring accountant, and then one day I was approached and I was asked if I would like to join the Integrity and Enforcement Department, because basically, excuse me, that I'd had responsibility for technical complaints before that, and they thought it would be useful to have an accountant actually embedded in that area if they had any complaints over suspicious accounts, anything dodgy, anything curious, if there was a problem. And they wanted a qualified accountant to basically sit in the team and have a look. And so that is when my job went from just a humble accountant to a forensic accountant, searching out dodginess and looking at companies and identifying problems and fake auditors' reports and spurious accounts and fraudulent and if there's sort of fraudulent stuff that doesn't look right, etc. And working with other law enforcement partners, and just giving my knowledge.
Fantastic. Gosh.
And so that's how it pretty much came about. I mean, the brilliant thing was that I was actually allowed to collaborate on what my job was going to be. So that was really fab, because what it meant was that I could put my accounting knowledge into that job description, you know, and it was sort of right, well, we're thinking about this, what do you think about that? And it was very much an organic process. So, I mean, that actually made it more effective still, because you could just say, right, well, this would be good and this would be good and blah, blah, blah. But over time then, it's grown as well. So it's grown very much into the counter fraud space. It's grown into giving masterclasses on accounts to other government departments, which I do, and all sorts of different stuff. And it's also led me to do a master's in forensic accounting. So.
Well, you're speaking about a master's there in forensic accounting, so the viewers know. Ironically, this week I'm there in my seminar. I'm chatting away to one of my lovely third years, and we're chatting. Oh, what do you want to do after when you graduate? And they come out to me and say, James, I really want to be a forensic accountant. It sounds rather cool.
It is.
Claire's gonna love this, isn't she? She's gonna love this. Gosh, that was it. But especially in the last few years, the popularity of it and the actual title of it as well. Lots of young accountants are particularly interested in it as well. So if we have a young accountant who's listening, then, and by definition of young accountant, that is anyone under 60. Oh no, actually no, anyone under 80. We'll cover all bases. What advice would you give to someone who is going for a role as a forensic accountant? What sort of skills are going to be really key for that?
Ooh, I think for me, the big one is you have to be able to look beyond the figures, because you can't just look at something. And I think, being serious for 2 minutes, I think accountants can actually fall short in the fact that they just look at the figures and they take them as gospel. And I think when you look at a lot of these situations you see popping up, where you then get the, oh, well, why didn't the accountant see it? Why didn't the auditors notice it? And the chances are is because they just looked at the figures and assumed that because they'd been given them, they were okay. So I think you have to, it's not just about analytics. It's very easy to think, oh, well, I'm highly analytical, therefore I'll be a good forensic accountant. It's not just about the analytics. It's about the using your common sense. It's about looking at accounts. It's knowing what a good set of accounts looks like. You know, I think there's a lovely quote that I read, ages ago, and it was, It was the wife of Billy Graham, who was a famous evangelist, and she was sat at a dinner, and she was sat next to this chap from the Bank of England, and he was responsible for basically finding fake and fraudulent notes. And she said to him, well, how do you identify them? How do you know they look fake? And I think the response came back, is because I know what a good one is supposed to look like.
Mm.
And he was so well versed in what the correct thing was that he could spot a fake at 20 paces. And I think that's the thing. What served me very well is that I have spent that time in the SMEs and in the multinationals, and I've done the accounts, and I've done the small accounts, I've done the large accounts, I've done, I've done all of this. I know what an auditor's report is supposed to look like. I know what accounts are supposed to look like. I know what's reasonable. And so all of that then filters in to being able to say, these are an absolute bag of spanners. They might look fine, and on the face of it, they look great. But I can tell you that that is too big, or that doesn't look right, or that wouldn't actually necessarily be in it, or they've put all of these figures in which aren't necessary to make themselves look more special than they are. All of these things, you can't. It is not just learning it out of a book.
Definitely.
You've got to have that. You've got to have that rounding, and I think if you've got the rounding plus you've got the ability to question, and I think that's so vital, it's that ability to question and say, does this make sense? Why is this happening?
Completely agree with you on that.
It's a very it's like a phyllo pastry. There's a lot of layers to it. It's not just one slab.
Oh, so, God. Oh, the devil is really in the detail on some of the cases that you see in it. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen one set of accounts. It had I mean, they were hilarious, I'll be honest with you. Oh, they were hilarious. I mean, and these things were, I mean, their audit report ran to about 5 pages, and to a person who wasn't versed in it, they'd have thought, wow, isn't it brilliant that they've done all of this care and attention, and they've gone the extra mile, and that's the opinion people would have had. I took a look at it and I thought, that is more fake than a Chanel bag off Spot Market. Which is a market in Cardiff, for those who aren't versed with Spot Market. But you looked at it and you thought, that is so freaking dodgy. But to the non-trained eye, you would likely turn around and go, oh, haven't they made an effort? They've asked them to do all of these extra things. Isn't this brilliant? And therein lies your problem.
Doesn't work like that. That's the thing. It's one of the things that I especially pay particular detail to in some of my lectures as well, giving examples. I try and hide away from the ones that are really good examples. So definitely Enron is one that all the first years in week 1 have to know about. That definitely first of all.
Do you want to know what terrifies me? And I thank you for bringing up Enron.
Talk me through.
What terrifies me about that is the amount of people, and I will send you a virtual hug for teaching on it, because the amount of people that I've spoken to now who sit there and you say about Enron and they look at you with this dull look and they go,
Oh, no, I know. I can't cope.
Actual almighty is going on, because I mean, and this is, at the risk of going off on a counter fraud rant, and any of my counter fraud colleagues will now be chortling now and getting their popcorn because they'll know what's going to happen next. But you look at it and you think, if we do not actually continue to have these awful, awful instances that have taken place over time, and if we don't actually have these and we don't keep them front and center, then frankly, there's nothing stopping these things actually taking place again. There really, really isn't. And you look at it and you think, it's just so easy for these things to just go out of the mindset. And then all of a sudden, we've got people who have not learned the lessons. So they're not going to see the same things that, I mean, if you remember Enron, I mean, Enron was basically bit by bit that they started off with one thing, they then just continued, and it started to snowball to the point where they actually managed, to the point where they basically got this critical mass at which they couldn't do anything else but do more dodginess. They managed to put blackouts in California by selling off the power grid, and they sold off, if I remember rightly, they managed to basically trade the power so that California, that had more than enough power to power California and then a bit, was in blackouts because they were trading it to somewhere else to hold California over the cosh to get more money out of them. They wiped out their pensioners' monies. Because their pensioners were continually being told, buy stocks, it's good investments, and that all went south. Fastow, who was one of the main guys involved, turned around and said, well, we didn't actually, at the deposition, he actually turned around on file and said, we didn't actually think we were doing anything legal.
It is amazing in terms of, it's just like
Arthur Anderson, for those of the watchers who don't remember, there wasn't a big four accountants, there were actually big five accountants until Enron, and they took Arthur Anderson down with them.
Well, it comes down to, I was at a conference in London, and one of the things that the recruiters there who work for all the big accountancy firms in the UK said, students are not commercially aware as they should be in terms of it. And it's just one of the things I just give so many examples, and the majority I keep as bad as well. And so they learn, they go away, whether it's watch a video, read an article on ACCA, all of that is pushed onto them, that it is absolutely fundamental. If you go to an employer and you can have a proper discussion about it as well, it goes a long way, and you've got a desire to learn on it as well.
It does. And I think, Enron came hot on the heels. I can't remember the name, but there was a savings bank that went under in the 80s, which basically did the same sort of thing. Guy bought up a savings and investments bank and basically just used it as his own personal cashing account. So there wasn't anything learnt on that. You had Ford Pinto before that, which most people don't remember about the Ford Pinto.
Well, it's face value. People take things just on face value now. That it was like Northern Rock in the financial crisis. Oh, it's Northern Rock, it'll be all fine. And you've just had numerous ones, Carillion over the years as well, and it's just that's what I like to teach. First years, first week, welcome to the course. So that's it.
Well, Carillion, again, you see, Carillion's a very interesting one as well, because Carillion, at the risk of being controversial, the main issue there was people were looking at previous year's accounts to make decisions on present decisions. And to me, something like that, you can actually start to identify what the company is doing a lot better if you turn around and you say, okay, we can see you're doing really well in last year's accounts. Now let us see your last couple of quarters figures.
And
we want to see this quarter's forecast. And then ask the question, does it add up with what you're seeing? Does it look as healthy?
I know.
Sorry, I'm just naturally suspicious.
Oh, I know. Wow, I know. The viewers are there going, well, for the viewers that actually don't know, I sat next to Claire at an event in the ACCA, and we got chatting as well. So there was no escape for me. But it was all right. And we're still in contact to this day. I don't think we'll ever fall out, because you're such a lovely lady, I must say. But behave. Come on, you're making my 2020 that we're doing this. Come on. But we did nudge on there to ACCA because I know you do so much in terms of the different panels you're part of as well. So just talk us through sort of what roles you actually have with where you currently work and ACCA as well.
Okay, glory. So, okay,
I know,
so
deep breath.
Yeah, deep breath. So obviously, forensic accountant in integrity and enforcement in Companies House. That then also means that I'm part of things like ALEFA, which is the Association of Law Enforcement Forensic Accountants, the UK and Ireland. I'm currently vice chairman of that. I'm also involved in the technical and forensic accounting knowledge group, which is a cross-government organisation. I'm also involved in Counter Fraud Champions, which is another counter fraud organisation, cross-government, sharing best practice. On top of that, then I have got my ACCA hat on. So ACCA wise, I am currently chairman of the Public Sector Network panel for the UK. I'm part of the Global Public Sector Forum for the ACCA. I'm a panel member in the South Wales network, which is my local network. What else? I think that's it. Oh, and I am also standing for ACCA Council this year. I think that's it.
And deep breath. And I know what the viewers are.
And I'm also, sorry, I forgot. I'm also, sorry, I'm also a member of the Fraud Advisory Panel. And I've been involved in their COVID-19 Fraud Watch panel since March, which has been looking into specific risks and issues coming out of this.
Well, and I've got to add on to that. I mean, that is just amazing and incredible, all the stuff that you do. But your career has now come on to a new height today for being the most, well, my favourite Welsh guest on the ACCA Global Podcast.
You're only Welsh guest, James. You're only Welsh guest.
Well, yes, there is also that as my only guest on there. But I feel you're reaching new heights now, where I think you could be going on to global domination of things now to come. So this is going to be the springboard in your career, if you ask me. So it's all right, I would say. But an interesting point would be you do so much there. Talk me through sort of your work-life balance in terms of how do you sort of manage yourself, especially for the viewers out there as well. What advice would you give to that?
I try to manage it quite well. I'm very much, I mean, I accept I am someone who I enjoy going 100 miles an hour.
I couldn't tell. It's all right.
You know, that is what I like. I mean, I did my master's and I had a choice between doing it over 2 years and 3 years. And I sat down with my then boss, James. He was also called James.
Not me.
Not you. And I sat down with James and I said, well, you know, and we had a chat about it. And we both came to the same conclusion, which was do it over 2 years, because if you do it over 3, you'll get bored. And that sums me up. I'm sort of bang, 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 bang. So I'm the queen of the to-do list. I have got I love my to-do lists. I think that's absolutely vital.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's even more vital now we're all working from home, because otherwise it just all merges into one. Something I have got, I'm very lucky, I have my study. Which is glorious, and it does mean at the end of the day I can switch off and go, right, thank you very much, I'm done. So I think having a space to do your work, your ACCA stuff or whatever it is, and then being able to say, right, it's done, thank you very much, without it sort of sitting in the corner of your lounge going cooey, is very, very handy. I mean, aside from the fact it's better ergonomically to be sat at a proper desk and stuff rather than hunched over,
Yeah.
like a little hunchy thing on your sofa. It's better in a mental state because you can then disconnect.
Yeah, 100% agree. And going for little walks in the day as well makes such a difference to break it up.
Yeah, little walks in the day. I mean, when it was sunny outside, I mean, I'd go downstairs, I'd put the kettle on while the kettle was boiling, I'd go out into the garden, you know, I'd sort of do a bit of gardening, see how my marrow was growing, whatever it was, you know, see if there were any beans ready to pick. But I sort of do that differential because I think otherwise, especially now, you can actually inadvertently find yourself far more glued to a screen than you used to be.
100% agree with you, because everyone's got iPads now as well. That's it. I mean, I have my laptop and I have my phone, but I keep my phone on silent. It's not got the binging or buzzing. And then at the end of the day, laptop closed down, put it away, and phone detox after 9 o'clock. And, you know, that's enough for me.
Now, I mean, the last couple of weeks now, the phone gets put to one side. It's on do not disturb all the time anyway, because otherwise it just pings and it just, I'm sorry, that does my head.
Well, you answer my calls, so it's okay. It's all right.
Yeah, so it's on do not disturb, apart from starred contacts, which means that people who I want to actually pick up, I'll get the phone. That's me. But other than that, it's so then I can just put it to one side, and I'm just trying now. I go, okay, I finish work, you know, then I go low tech, TV, glass of wine, thank you very much. And I do find that helps as well, because, you know, it's taking those breaks. But it's, for me, it's being organized, to-do list, know what you need to do, know what time you need to allocate to stuff.
Yeah.
And also not being, I mean, I know that, I mean, from the year dot, I was described as a forthright, well, one person turned around and described me as a forthright young lady. And I mean, I haven't really changed since then. But in all seriousness, you know, if you are sitting there and you are struggling, or you're overwhelmed, or you're going, I don't know how I'm going to have time to do this, you have to basically vocalize that.
Yeah.
You have to. I mean, I'm very lucky I'm public sector, I accept. I mean, speaking as someone who's worked in the private sector, you don't have to talk to me about it. But I do think there is that sort of element of you have to appreciate sometimes you have to go, you know what, I need extra time for this, or I need to do so and so, or whatever it was. And you need to do that, and you need to vocalize that, and that is not a bad thing. That really isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, you aren't doing yourselves any favors by becoming a martyr and running yourself into the ground. And I think that, especially now, we have to appreciate mental health, mental well-being, absolutely vital.
Completely agree.
Absolutely vital, because, you know, you're spending more. I mean, I worked out, I reckon I'm spending a ton more time on the screen because face-to-face meetings are now virtual. You know, you're chatting to someone, it's virtual. So you suddenly realize you are doing that. So it's actually making sure that, you know, you have those tech breaks. And you have that time when you go, okay, I don't actually need to check my emails.
Yeah.
And get some structure in your day.
Oh, completely agree. But you talked about speaking up as well. Everyone seems to be, you know, banging on about leadership and management as well. These are one of the things in terms of good leaders are actually, they stand up, and actually, if there is an issue, they look to address it. And when they do, that builds a better corporate culture and actual team bonding there as well. But it's fear as well. I always find that some people are just, I don't know what it is, but it's a case of you just need to nurture. I think is going to be a really good skill after COVID, when we come back into the office space. Some people are going to need easing back in, but it's the issues that are currently going on now as well, that you've got to be so timely in a management position that I try to ring just a colleague to say, you make sure they're all right, or like today on campus, Lady Caroline, who I've not seen since March. She's unfortunately leaving. She said, "Oh, James, I've got a class." Also, don't worry, I'm going to walk with you in the wrong direction from me, but she really
Exactly.
appreciates it, and she'll remember that for donkey years.
Yeah.
Caroline, if you're watching, I'm going to miss you. Be all right. But
I think you're spot on, though. I think it's just, we really, no one would actually, I think you have to treat it in the same way as you would if someone walked in with a broken leg. And if someone walked in with a broken leg, you wouldn't turn around and expect them to be running around the office. And we have to have, you're being serious for 20 seconds. We have to have that conversation about the mental health and the mental well-being, because, if there's one thing guaranteed to really make people struggle at the moment, it's that sort of mental struggle. And it's that sort of mental well-being and keeping that really, really good. And I mean, I remember years ago, and someone very unhelpfully, I mean, I went through a situation which wasn't exactly the nice, and anyway, I had to have some time off. And this person helpfully turned around. I say helpfully, yeah. Turned around, and their advice to me was, "Well, have a hot bath, you'll feel better." No, you blooming won't. But we have to go beyond that, and especially now, we have to go beyond the mentality of, "Oh, have a hot bath and you'll feel a ton better."
Yeah, it's education on it, though. That's it.
Turn around and say, "You know what? Are you okay? Do you want? Do you need help with your work? What's worrying you?"
Yeah, it's going to come down to different levels of education on it.
Do you need extra check-ins? Do you want to have, do you want us to have a virtual coffee every week? Would that help? And there's so much available, virtual coffee every week to catch up and not just talk about work, or, making sure someone's okay, or saying, "Right, okay, let's just look at your work patterns and let's see how we can do this." There's just so much that can be done.
It all depends on that initial reach out, though. That's the thing, isn't it? But mega points, I must say. And you and I could be chatting away for ages. Hence why I've been looking forward to this chit chat all week. It's been that important in my week. It's been on my
to-do list. Let's be honest. I can talk a hind leg off a donkey, so
And what a change in my life sitting next to you at that ACCA event has led to. Good grief. But I think you'll like this next part as well, because it is entitled, "Do I Agree With You?" And surely someone like yourself, how will this go down? But these are open-ended questions, and the beauty for the listeners is you don't know what they are, apart from the first one, but you've not watched an episode yet, so even better. The first one is, if you could listen to one artist for the rest of your life, who's your favorite artist? Who would you pick?
Now. Only one?
Only one. I'm interested in this. I ask every accountant because I want to know what music they're into.
Now you see that. Now, just one. That's really hard.
Well, I'll give you a bit of time. I'm always a big rock and roll fan. So it's always sort of Toto is sort of my go-to band. But I always like Elton John as well. Big fan on that.
You see, it depends what mood I'm in. Because if I'm in a sort of a nice, calm sort of pootle along, then there's an artist called Josh Garrels.
Okay, I've never heard of him, I'll be honest.
And he's really good. He's really good, and I enjoy listening to him. And he's very melodic, and so that's the one side of it. But then on the other side, then we start to veer off into prog and rock and such, and we start to go into your Muse and
nice.
And Neil Morse and Flying Colours and Transatlantic and all of that sort, and Spock's Beard and so on and so forth. So it goes slightly from the sublime to the ridiculous with me.
Oh, rock and roll. Oh, you see, next time I'm listening to Muse, it will be in there. I'll remember. But we've got to have a Welsh question. I've got to ask you, who is your favourite Welsh superstar? And there are many out there. There are many out there. Charlotte Church, Robbie Savage, Giggsy. I mean, these are all very important people.
Just as an aside, Robbie Savage has incredibly small feet. Just as an aside, because I saw him at a do once, and the only thing I could get, I noticed, you know, everyone's going, oh, look there. I'm thinking, good grief, he's got small feet. There's so many other things I noticed. I think I'd have to go for Richard Parks.
Richard Parks? All right, not
Richard
Tom Jones
Parks.
then. Not Tom Jones.
No, Richard Parks, because not necessarily because of the sports side of things, but because of all the intrepid, you know, the 737 challenge, all of these things that he's done, you know, climbing the mountains and going to the poles and such. So he's going to have my vote.
Well, Tom Jones, who is watching right now, Tom, I'm really sorry, but I'll make it up to you. Don't worry. If you come along to the University of Lincoln, I'll sing to you. Don't worry, Tom. I've got you. I've got you. But the viewers are going to be more interested to know, Claire, if you weren't to be an accountant, what do you think you'd have ended up being?
If I wasn't an accountant, then I'd like to be.
Difficult one.
I actually pondered a number of things when I was wondering what I wanted to be. And they were wide and ranging. So, I mean, it ranged from things like fashion design.
Nice.
I fancied that. I actually fancied going to university and studying physics.
Right. Oh, gosh. Oh, all these things. I'm just so interested. Brilliant.
Yeah, I did give consideration whether I wanted to join the police, but I think my grandmother would have killed me, so that went clean out window quite quickly. Because they were terrified I'd be killed or something.
Well, Officer Jenkins does have a good ring to it, though, doesn't it?
So yeah, so it would have been one of those, but I think which one it would have been, I don't know.
Right.
Probably, you know, I mean, there was also part of me that wanted to be a florist.
Right.
So
there's still time. There is still time. Don't you worry about that. Gosh.
It's that split between the very sort of creative and the very analytical.
Nice. Oh, rock and roll. Now, the next question comes in from someone who posed a question in a previous video, and they said, James, you've got to ask this to your next guest as well. And they ask your next guest what their favorite pizza topping is.
Oh, that's easy.
Oh, right. Oh, there we go then.
That's easy. That's easy because I actually make my own pizzas at home. So it's going to be homemade tomato sauce with a heavy wallop of garlic in it, some hand-torn basil from my little basil plant that sat in my kitchen, and then a mixture of cheeses, and that's going to be mozzarella, cheddar, and some parmesan.
Wow, it's almost as if they've read your mind for the perfect question. I'd have never have known that. Brilliant stuff. Gosh, any articles on pizza now I find on LinkedIn, I'm just going to ping you away. That'll make your day. But the final one on here, and it's a tricky one, but what is the biggest lesson you've learnt in your career or life? What sort of stands out to you that could help someone who is listening in today, would you say?
I think the biggest piece of advice I could give from my career and everything is don't assume that you need to know exactly what you want to do even before you've left school or university or anything. I mean, I've seen so many articles and everything basically saying, oh, this year my dreams have been destroyed, obliterated, other overly emotional words like that give the English sort of tutor in me the absolute creeps. But there's all this over emotion of, oh, my whole life has been destroyed because of 6 months. And the thing is, nothing is ever wasted. So, I mean, if you look at me, I started off doing secretarial and PA work. I did that for 10 years. What did that give me? That gave me the ability to do the best quality reports that an accountant can possibly give. It meant that I've got Excel skills that are on point. It means that when I give you a report, or an expert witness report, or an Excel spreadsheet of information, or a PowerPoint presentation when I'm doing a masterclass, or any of these things, it's not going to make your eyes bleed. And believe you me, you've been there, I'm sure. You've looked at the presentation and you've gone, oh my stars, what am I looking at? My head hurts. Now, I spent 10 years that honed that skill. What that's meant is that then I've gone, okay, fine, I now want to be an accountant. I've got those skills have come in and they are so useful. Yet we seem, now we seem to go, you have to decide exactly what you want and get it straight out of university. And if you can't get it within a year, then your life is destroyed and you're doomed. And it's just not true. Nothing is ever wasted. So I think my biggest piece of advice from my career so far would be
abundant one, yes.
Don't think just because you're not doing what you want to do immediately, don't think that what you're doing now won't actually benefit you in the long run. See it as a learning experience, see it as building stuff. Foundations for building are pug ugly. The house will look gorgeous, but the foundations won't look great. Same thing applies.
No, takes a lot of time.
Take it, grow with it, use it, and then 10 years you'll suddenly go, do you know what, that thing I did there, or that I learned there, or whatever it is, wow, I can't believe that was so useful. And for me, that's the biggie.
Spot on. I completely agree with you as well. And just to add on to that, don't be afraid to fail on anything you attempt as well. Loads of people they have a little attempt, they get knocked back on it, and they say, oh, that's it. Oh my word.
Resilience.
I mean, indeed, just keep at it, keep going, and just trust in what you like doing, your passion, and just go for it as well. It doesn't matter. There was a quote I read the other day was, look, people are going to doubt you when you're first going. People aren't going to like you when you're on the way there, and then people are going to hate you when you make it to the top. So you're not going to please everyone. And I thought that was fantastic.
And the thing is the resilience factor of it as well. I mean, when I was doing PA work, I was involved in, because that wasn't very heavy going, it meant I could do a lot of stuff outside of work as well. Those things that I did, and I'd be organising conferences and I'd be doing things, I'd be speaking and so on and so forth. And what it meant was that then when you go into accountancy, and I'm going, and like last year, I went to awards dinners because I was nominated for an award, my team was nominated for awards. And so I was going to things, and all of that I'd learned, that I'd been to these dues and I'd spoken to these high-flying people, and I've met prime ministers and things like that. And what that's brought in now is I can walk into any room and I don't quake when I see someone, when someone goes, oh, that person's important because they are, because I'm like, yeah, okay.
Oh, no. Okay.
I
Doesn't
go
matter.
in and I'm good.
Yeah.
And that's not wasted. So nothing at all is ever wasted.
Absolutely spot on. I completely agree with you there. And it's almost as if we're like working as a team now, because we're already getting onto your insights and experience, and it's just been coming out in droves as we've been talking away. I know. Have a sip. Give yourself a small rest
Yeah.
on that one.
This
But
is why I had 2 drinks on the go, because I know that I talk for Britain.
I know. Well, cheers to that. That's all right.
You know,
But oh no, it's nearly all gone now. It's all right. Well, I've got to keep up. I've got to, hold the show in check here. This is very important. Yes, but on our experience that we're talking at the end here and insights, we've got to come on to your hashtag Fraud Friday and hashtag Fraud Thought of the Day, which for me personally is absolutely fantastic to read. So underrated. Just talk the viewers through sort of what it's all about.
So, I mean, as anyone's already probably spotted, I'm very passionate about what I do, and because I've started, as I said to you earlier, started off forensic accountant, and that has then led me into having that interest in the counter fraud, in the understanding what's going on, looking at things. And there's been a number of things, and you start to see these things come through, when you see these articles on the internet. And I just thought, well, I've got a profile on LinkedIn. It gets relatively decent sort of hits. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to actually start to put out some of these things, whether it's just a commentary on this is just blindingly daft,
Yeah.
or whether it's sort of, a critique of something or making people aware. I'm not fussy what it is. So, I mean, for instance, we had the instance of the article that was in the Telegraph, being highly critical of this poor lady who'd been scammed out of £3,000 out of her bank.
Mm-hmm.
And the behaviour of some of the actual comments appalled me, and the words were, you're going to have to be wiser before you earn some proper money, or something like that.
Oh dear.
And I just looked at it and I thought, I'm sorry, but if it was as easy as understanding that these things happen, then fraud wouldn't take place in the first blinking place, would it? So that kind of starts the ball rolling. I've seen things like that. And then recently the BA situation over the data breach.
I've got one. I've got my personal favourite, and this applies to everyone watching as well. My personal favourite was, you commented, you didn't actually put the screenshot on, but you gave a detailed list of one of your friends' posts on their story or their whatever it was about a screenshot. And you went through it and critiqued it as to what information you could get out of it, which is amazing. Talk me through it.
Because I was appalled. Yeah. I was absolutely and utterly appalled. This person had done a bit of cropping, a crop tool, which for anybody who doesn't know what that is, it's in any Microsoft. If you're in Word, PowerPoint or Publisher, you got cropping tools. If you don't know, hit the find button at the top, type in crop, you'll find it. This person had not cropped anything. They'd just done a screenshot of their phone. Now, I don't know the amount of people, but I mean, I'd say probably over 50% of people probably don't have antivirus software on their phones. I'm just going to hazard a guess on that. I can't tell you how many. But, this person, it was just everything. It was almost as if they just written the whole damn lot and they put it in their front window. And you thought, sweet Lord, what are you doing? Because it gave so much information. And, it basically meant that someone had the ability to know that they had an account, with this bank, that they accessed it regularly via internet, that via their phone. They knew exactly what their phone provider was. They had their email address because that was now available because, of course, it was LinkedIn. All of these things, and what it did was it basically gave a fraudster just absolutely free rein to take that person to the cleaners.
That was the phrase I was thinking.
It
Yes.
was terrifying. And you thought, that's only the one person I've seen. How many people have done that without thinking? I saw another one, and they were so proud of what they'd done. They put up on LinkedIn their letter of congratulation. It had their name, address, the details of the school they'd had it from. It had their membership number. I mean, it basically had everything bar their inside leg measurement. And you looked at it, and again, you thought, well, number one, someone can just clone you. Someone can just clone you straight off like that and take your qualification and use it on their CV and have the details. And that'll be job done. Thank you very much. So that was a starter for 10. On top of that, you now gave out your address. And, you know, and not being funny, LinkedIn, pretty much anyone can search on anything. And if they stay private, you don't know who's actually searched on you. And you've given this information out. And I'm thinking, I cannot believe I'm actually seeing this. So
Completely agree with you. Yeah.
Fraud thought of the day. It veers between the advice being handed out to people to go, please don't do this. This is incredibly silly. And also going, this is just not right. Such as, you know, the lady getting castigated in the Telegraph and the whole BA scenario, which, you know, as much as I love flying with BA, you know, let's be honest with you, that's not an amount that's going to encourage them much to make sure that they have got proper things in place.
Well, you'll be happy to know that I've picked up on a couple of my friends who posted online their company cars with their license plates on there and their business addresses. And I seem to remember I was on the way into a meeting and it popped up on my phone on Facebook or something. And I just thought, right, I'm going to have to be late for this meeting. I've got to send them this because this is ridiculous. And they're thinking from their side, oh, it's a case of this is really cool and I'm showing them doing a business or whatever. I just go, they can find you online, all your company details. They've got your license plate. Then go to the DVLA. I just go, amazing in terms of it.
It's just awful. And the thing is, you see, is I think you've got a situation now where the tech is so normalized, as you know, it's seen as an extension to your arm, which is great, but we haven't got that. We have all of this, and we don't actually teach or even think about what the risks are involved, you know. And I mean, I've seen friends post stuff up on Facebook which, you know, involves their kids, and I'm looking and going, no, just no. You know, I mean, one person I actually said, you should not be posting this. And, you know, kids in the bath, everything else. And I'm thinking, you haven't got your thing isn't, your Facebook isn't locked down. You know, simple way of working out what everyone can see on Facebook is quite simple. Log yourself out and then try and view yourself in a different browser, or view someone else in a different browser and see how much you can see.
Yeah.
And if it terrifies you, you're showing too much. But, you know, it's things like that. And, you know, and it was like, oh, it's all right, I'm not showing anything. I thought, you're showing enough. And it's the same logic but with your personal data, you know, whether it is with things like that, or personal data, or yeah, showing off your car, showing off your house with the you know, after you've just put the plate on the front of the house with the number whatever, Acacia Gardens on it, you know. Better still, slap up your 2 kids in front of that in their school uniforms. They know exactly where you live and where your kids are. Yeah, it's
I
just.
know. I know. I know. I don't want to ruin your evening now, but this is proper stuff as well, which I'm interested in because I think about it all the time. But
Yeah,
it's all right. I don't want to give you a headache on your Thursday evening as
you
well.
won't.
I know. Well, it's been
There's gin in the fridge. It's fine.
You need more than gin to put up with me, I'm afraid. But yes, we are coming, unfortunately, to an end. But I've got to ask you: is there anything looming on your mind that you've just got to say to the viewers out there that you just would give them as a final thought of insight? Would you say?
Oh, final thought or insight? Golly gosh. I mean, I think I've pretty much said a lot already, you know, which is whatever's, I mean, I think for me at the moment, I think the one thing I'm trying to do, and I think it's a wise thing to do, is it's the enough light for the step you're on. It's very easy in the current circumstances to be trying to look so far forward, and to be honest with you, no, just take it a day at a time. Don't worry if you're in a job you love, brilliant. If you're not sure what you want to do, don't panic. I can't recommend being a forensic accountant enough because it's ridiculously good fun. I'm incredibly grateful that I'm doing this. But yeah, I think that's my advice in general. And on a fraud hat moment, it would be take a look at whatever you're posting up, and ask yourself the question, if you were a criminal and this was not your information, what would you be able to get out of it? And I think that's the best way. If you're not sure and you're like, oh yeah, it's fine, that's the question to ask. Look at it, don't look at it as it's your data, look at it as if it's someone else's, and go, okay, so if I was a criminal or I was just having a snoop on this person, you know, if they wanted to be my friend, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, whatever, and I did a little bit of a snoop around and I got this information, how much would this tell me? And that will give you a good indication whether you're actually giving away too much information across the social media channels.
Very wise words, and I completely agree with you, because I did my own audit on myself where I'm very little on there in terms of stuff and everything like that, but yes, and also I mustn't forget, because I've got to get it over here for you, for coming on the podcast, very important. This is, well, you can have that one or you can have that one. You have a lovely acorn for coming on the podcast. That will be your solid oak that is being planted in the UK, just like that. So I must say a massive thank you. It's going to get planted this weekend on there, and I'm going to go pick up some more for more guests. For it's going to be a forest now.
Good plan.
That will be it. But I must say thank you so much for coming on today, and for your evening as well. I feel you've earned your gin this evening, or your glass. Are you going for gin? Are you going for gin or rosé?
It's going to be a bit of both. It's going to be pink gin.
Oh right. Oh, you see, this is why you're just ahead of me in
nice
so many different ways. Beautiful. Lovely stuff. Well, I must say, Claire, thank you so much for coming along today. For everyone who's watching as well, if you'd like access to all of the other episodes from other ACCA members, from around the world. And this is where I go into my sort of newsreader moment here of Channel 4. And if you'd like to subscribe so that you get to have all of my free materials and all the episodes, and of course to listen back to the lovely Claire as well from today's episode. There's a lot of value in today. I'm going to go back and watch it as well because there's a lot of things I need to sort out. But as well, any questions, you can feel free to put them in the description below. Claire and I can have a look at them as well. Anything you've got going. I'm sure you can have lots of students talking about forensic accounting, how they want to be more like you and less like James. That'll be the overview for this episode. But as always, everyone, on that bombshell, we will see you next time. So thank you very much. And thank you very much, Claire. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.